So how am I building a faceless business online as a single mom working a 9 to 5? So if you just found my channel, welcome, because one thing that I want to say is that this channel, my goal is to really kind of like go over and just emphasize so much about mindset, about faith, of course about finances, because that's what my niche is about, and real life transformation. I'm not going to come from theory or what I have learned from a course or something like that. I'm actually going to explain things and do things and show you things from experience, what I have learned, mistakes that I had to, make so that way I can get better. And that's one of the things that, a lot of people, they get stuck on, because I know I have, where, you have to understand that failure has to happen regardless. Anything good, there's always some type of failure that you have to learn from, so that way you could get better as you trying to reach whatever goals you have. So I definitely want to just say that. Now, I've been in this space for a little while, and one thing I did notice is that a lot of people, especially on social media, talk about how, they're going to start an online business, but they don't really show you exactly what they do behind the scenes, right? Because it's a lot more than what people let on, because, it's challenging for some people. I know I've done it, where it's like, the perfectionism kicks in, or the imposter syndrome kicks in, or the I'm not ready kicks in. So it's like people get this mindset, because I know I have, where everything has to be perfect before I show what's going on. And that's one of the things that I don't want to do with this channel. So in this video, I am going to walk you through exactly what I have done so far. And, because what I'm doing now is I'm building a faceless business online, but it's completely from scratch. You could say it's from scratch, but some things I had done before, and I'm just enhanced it, or I switched it up, or made changes and stuff like that. But I wanted to just kind of like give you guys the gritty stuff, you know what I mean? Now, after going through a financial hardship, when I came to Florida, because I live in Florida, beautiful state of Florida, to start and rebuild my life, you know, one of the biggest things that I had to work on, it was a couple of things, but one of the biggest things was the challenging part, which is my finance, because it's something, I had to make certain choices, so that way, and make certain sacrifices, so that way I could be able to rebuild my life. So this is something I actually lived and learned personally and professionally. So now, the reason why I decided on to micro niche is because I wanted to build something that actually changed my life. And that was one of the biggest things. There's a couple different aspects, which is very important, but that's like the main thing that I was focused on. And that's what I want to focus on explaining this in my business, right? Because I was going to say this again is, not only that I experienced this, but I know what the financial struggle is. I know how to rebuild my credit. I was able to rebuild my credit. I learned how to budget and stick to a budget. I learned how to save money. I learned how to pay off debts, even living paycheck by paycheck. And I am now a homeowner again. So that was my main goal, and I was able to reach it. So my main objective is that, not only that I want to show you guys, but I wanted to teach my daughter and people that I love, so that way they don't make the same mistakes. And that, especially my daughter, she's going to make mistakes anyways in life, because that's part of life. But my goal for me when it comes to her is I want her to make less mistakes. Let me go ahead and go through what I have actually done. So let me show you what I have done so far. The most important thing, which was probably the most challenging for me because I wanted to do everything, I had to get clear on who am I talking to. So I wanted to talk to moms, right, who wants to do better and, and don't know how to start. So that was why I created my avatar in the system, knowing exactly who I want to talk to, right? Because if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. And I learned that the hard way. But I just didn't want to just talk about finance. I wanted to be realistic because, every transformation, for women is a lot of pieces that goes together. And so I wanted to, one of the things that I had to do was, do my research, right? So basically, and I learned this a lot because of my experience working as a virtual assistant, because that's what I used to do before. And I worked with awesome ladies, and I was able to not only assist them, right, as a virtual assistant, and their goals and stuff like that, but I learned from them, and I don't want to take that for granted, right? So what I want to do is, with this new business, I want to focus on people's real struggles, like I did. I struggled, right? People that live paycheck by paycheck, that has bad credit or okay credit, or maybe no credit at all right? That has, and they're drowning in debt. I know how that feels. It's so easy to get in a whole bunch of debt. Let's just keep it real. And the most important thing, that are just don't have the financial knowledge. They don't know, you know what I mean? And we have to learn from somewhere, right? And I wanted to create a space where it's long-term, something that's never going to go away. Money's never going to go away. Debt is never going to go away. The credit system is never going to go away. So I think I'm pretty safe, right? So another thing that I wanted to learn is, I needed to set up my foundation, right? So my foundation is that social media is the place right now that is able to reach out a whole bunch of people. So I had to make a decision what platform I wanted to use, right? And I had it all, okay? Because at one point I was trying to do it all, right? So I decided to just create a YouTube channel, and I did for my faceless finance business. I wanted to go faceless, so I wanted to do YouTube, which will be a great way. Another one that I wanted to do is podcast. I set up a podcast, and I set up Pinterest. And these are three platforms that are free, totally free, and they could reach millions of people. And the reason why is because the difference between them and compared to other social media platforms, their search engine. So that means that people are searching things, and they'll be able to, like, whatever the question, then your information is going to pop up. So it's a little bit different. I learned that. And I feel like for what I'm trying to do, I want to make sure that I do things more effective. So another thing that I, wanted to create is a digital product, because I have sold digital products, but I wanted to create a digital product just in regards to finance. So I was able to do that and give something of value for free to people. So I do have a free budget and debt-free spreadsheet, because one of the things that I have done before is I used to have a little notebook, and I used to write all my debts there, and then I check them off as I make sure that they're taken care of and stuff like that. So I created a spreadsheet that anybody could use, and it's edible. And so why create you want to create something that's valuable for free, because you want to use it as a lead magnet, and that's what I did. And it also, what's important is that, you be able to provide value to someone that needs it, and then that way they could see this is something that, that can actually help them. And it just helps you want to build trust, right? And you want to provide value, but you also want to build trust to people. So that's one of the things that I had learned in my journey, stuff like that. So I'm working on that. So if you want a free spreadsheet, right, so that way you could jot down all your expenses, just go ahead and look at my link below, so that way you could grab it for free. Now, email marketing is something else that I created, that I learned, which is really, really good, because you don't want to rely just on social media, because we live in a world, and it has happened to me one time. I will never forget. I freaked out, actually, when I first started my journey, and I didn't know what I was doing. Let's put it out there. I didn't know what I was doing. And my social media account, remember, was Instagram, and they literally shut it down. And I'm like, what did I do? What happened? Like, I was so hurt. I will never forget that feeling. So with that being said, I had learned in the future, because that could happen again. People hack on your accounts. That has happened to people. It's just heartbreaking. So email marketing is a great way to, make sure that you still have, once you create a community, that you'll be able to still access that community, and you don't want to rely on social media, because anything can happen anytime. There was one time when I remember that TikTok, they were going to take out completely TikTok out. So, you just never know. So email marketing is what I had learned. It's really, really good. So that way you could create a community, be able to stay in touch with them, and a great way to be able to offer other services that you might have, or, products or services that you have. So with the email marketing, you want to create basically a funnel. And I'm going to go more in depth with all these things. I'm just giving you guys an outline, right? So one of the things is that you want to provide something for free, as a free or a low cost, as a lead magnet, okay? And then you want something that is a little bit more, but not too expensive. Just, just a couple dollars, depending what some people look at $27, $47, but you want to provide something that is valuable for that pricing. And then, of course, a lot of people have high tickets, right? So you want to be able to do those things: low, medium, and then a higher ticket. So those are the 3 offers that you should always have. And I'm gonna go in more details about it. Now, one of the things, as far as content creation, and I always been into art. I love all type of arts. I love physical arts, and I love digital art, right? And I learned about Canva a long time ago, even before it became real popular for people to use it for business. So Canva is something for free. I remember when I first designed I used to do like flyers for club owners, and I used a different software program, and it used to take me nights and days to create a flyer, where now with Canva you could do it within, like, literally for 5 minutes. Like, it's crazy. But when I was doing, and I was just dipping and dabbing just for fun, it was a little bit extra money, so why not, when I did graphic designing. So that was really, really fun. But Canva is a free tool. It's very popular now. Some people, you could do a lot of things just with the free version, but yes, you could do a lot more with the paid version, and we're going to go more in depth with that. And of course, the other one that's real popular that I like as well, to create videos, stuff like that, I use a different video, and like edible to edit, like different software programs, or programs to edit your videos, stuff like that. But CapCut, to be honest with you, is probably the easiest one that I had done. So I think that would be, like, right now, that's kind of like number 1. You could do it with Canva. You have other software programs, but CapCut you could do a lot with. So it's a little bit of combination. But the most important tool is to stay consistent. I think that's the hardest part, but that's why one of the things that had helped me, and I'm going to go over that with you guys too, is to, like, you want to batch your content. So, and there's so many different ways that you could create a lot of from one piece. You could create a lot of them within, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. There's different ways, but we're going to go over that too. So those are the things that I have learned, and I'm, of course, and I'm, going to use those skills to be able to, for the business. My main thing is, for my business, is I just don't want to do something just to make money. Of course, money, is good, right? Because the money actually helps you to live a better life, right? However, I want to be able to create impact. I want to be able to help other people, because I know I've been there and done that, and I know how it feels to feel like hopeless. And money is like the biggest stressor. Like, who doesn't stress about money? Especially with everything that's going on in the world, and there's so much, we don't know what's going to happen, but the thing is that, the more prepared you are, the better, right? The most important thing, and I mentioned this to my daughter yesterday, is I'm not trying to do everything at once. I'm actually planning everything out. I'm, not saying like necessarily dragging stuff, but I'm focusing on certain things at a time, focusing on certain things each week. I'm focusing on certain things and taking out one task at a time. Because sometimes, and it's very easy because I've been there and done that, where you get so caught up, you're excited, and you think you can handle a whole bunch at the same time, and then you feel overwhelmed and you feel burnt out. Okay, that's real. And then what happens is that a lot of people start out, because of the excitement, they want to do a whole bunch of stuff at the same time, and then what happens is that they get so caught up in it, and then they like, oh my God, they can't keep that momentum, especially when they're not getting the results as fast as they wish. And then what happens is that most people give up because it's just too much, and then life is too much. And to add that to it, especially when you're not seeing the results right away, people just lose that momentum and they just let it go. And that's one of the things that I'm not gonna do, and I refuse to do. So that's one of the things that I want to just emphasize, because it's very, very important. Okay, so other than to create content, the tools that you could use, another thing that's very important that you could use, because we live in a world that there's so much out there, there's so many things, there's so many opportunities. We are in the knowledge era, meaning that anything you want to learn about, anything that you want to do, is in our fingertips. Like, this is like the time where if you don't take advantage of it, I just don't understand why wouldn't you, if you want to do better, right? So one of the tools that I had learned in the last year or so, which is really, really good, I dibble dabble, but I actually really learned how to use it, is ChatGPT for ideas and for scripts. Trello is one of my favorite, and these are all free. Okay, these things are free, right? Most of the stuff is free. You can always get the paid version, but just want to make sure that you understand. Trello, I've been using it for years. I love it because it just keeps me organized personally and professionally. Trello is just my go-to to keep everything organized. Okay, and then of course, I use Pinterest. Pinterest is my favorite place to go to get inspiration. And like I mentioned about the spreadsheet, that is probably the easiest and most effective way to keep track of everything as far as your finance. Okay, nothing is complicated. If you want to make it complicated, you would, but it's really not. It's very simple. So that's why I'm documenting my real time, and I'm not going to be gatekeeping. I'm not pretending everything is perfect. You're going to see like all the good and bad in it and stuff like that. But I wanted to be here to show the real steps, the real growth, and real results. At one point, I was doing really, really good, and I was making good money, right? And obviously I was able to accomplish my goals. So I was able to get out of debt, I was able to save money, and I was able to purchase my home. That was my main goal, and it was hard, and it took a lot of sacrifices. And there were so many times where I felt confused and I just didn't know what to do and stuff like that. So this time I feel like when I decided to come back, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back because I still have other goals that I want to reach, and I'm excited about them, and I know they're possible because I have reached other goals, right? But this time I don't want to get myself in a situation where I feel burnt out. I want to learn from past mistakes and just focus on certain things. So that's why it's very, very important. Now, with that being said, I definitely am going to be showing tutorials, breaking down every single thing, because a lot of things you might have heard of it, some things you might not, some things you're like, what is she talking about? You know what I mean? It could be that. But if you want a full step-by-step tutorial, which I am going to, but you tell me which one you want first, right? Do you want me to break down as far as like how to set up your YouTube channel, how to create a digital product, how to set up the email marketing, you know, how to kind of like get batch content using Canva, and how to edit and create videos using CapCut. I'm all gonna put it on here. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna put everything on here. So much stuff, like it's gonna be crazy. However, it's gonna be good because I know how it feels when you're looking for something and they're like, they just give me a little titty here, a little bit here, a little sprinkle there, which is fine. You know, it is what it is. It's a marketing strategy, but not me. I'm gonna put everything out here. So it just depends, what would you like first? Which one would be beneficial? So if you do want any of these tutorials, I'm gonna, you know, which one to do first, go ahead and comment which type of tutorial that I have mentioned that you would like to learn, and I'll do it step by step and show you guys. So if you are in this journey too, of course, go ahead and subscribe, and that way we could build this together and learn. I'm excited, I'm nervous, and I'm everything in between, but it's all good.